Hello everybody and welcome back to the Survival Chances Slim Summary Series. This episode covering cycles 161 through 200. So, what do we get done in the past 40 cycles of our maximum difficulty, oxygen not included, let's play? Well, first off, we added 9 new duplicates to the base. Abe number 2, Otto number 2, Bubbles number 2, Travaldo number 2, Lindsay number 2, Devin number 2, Hassan number 2, Ada number 2, and Stinky number 2. Welcome aboard, you guys. Which means we hit our goal of 50 duplicates by cycle 200, and ultimately we're going to stop at 70 duplicates once we have 2 of every single unique duplicate. So, well on our way, doing pretty well on that front. We also completed a cooling loop for our base. We have a little Aquatuner set up right here, which we're about to slap a steam turbine on top of as soon as we get the plastic. And this Aquatuner has a simple bypass right here using a liquid pipe thermosensor to make sure that we don't freeze our coolant. We are currently using just plain old water as our coolant because that's what was available. We have set up this loop to cool down our industrial facility. So we have this loop of granite liquid pipe with water now at 6 degrees, 7 degrees, whatnot, and little bits of radiant aluminum pipe in here to try and improve the heat conduction and heat absorption of this cooling loop. But we have this nice cool water loop traveling through our industrial sector now, and we've seen a lot of progress on getting our industrial sector to a nice chilly temperature. Down here, our petroleum generators have gone down from about 70 degrees to 60 degrees, and this has only been in operation for about a couple cycles or so. So we've been doing pretty well. We're going to try and get all this stuff. This part down here is down to 30 degrees, in fact, so making even a little bit more progress down with the natural generators or natural gas generators over here. But we're going to try and get this whole area down to around 40 degrees, and we are starting to expand our cooling loop. We have this pipe right here traveling to another liquid valve, and then we are going to use the wastewater that we have generated from our bathroom system over here to add to this coolant loop, which we are slowly constructing out of lead and granite. And this is going to travel through our farm area before rejoining this loop right over here. And the way that we're going to control how much cooling we send to one area versus how much cooling we send to another is with this system of liquid valves. Ultimately, our entire cooling network for our base is going to be controlled by these valves, and these valves will allow us to split the flow. So we can say, I want half of my coolant to go this way and the other half of the coolant to go this way. And then once we get over here, we can say, and I want half of that to go this way, another half to go that way. We can specify the exact numbers for how much we want to go one way versus another and direct our cooling throughout our base that way. We have a lot of cooling to do because we have been, one, pumping a lot more oxygen into our base. We have completed a second oxygen line over here. So this line is now fully oxygenated and pumping into our base. We have started to have some issues though, because the oxygen is a lot hotter than what is necessary for our plants to live. We start having some plants get turned off because their body temperature has increased too high. So we need this cooling loop to help cool down this area. We also have been expanding our farms, and so there's going to be more area to cool down as well. We've basically added 9 new duplicates to our base, which meant we needed to add around 90 new farm tiles. And so we've carved out part of the desert here and sort of terraformed it with the use of ice temp shift plates to get this area nice and chilly. Temperatures down here are pretty reasonable, just under 30 degrees for most of the stuff, and that's what we're using to keep our duplicates fed going forward. We did have to do a little bit of work to get this whole system up and running because this Aquatuner ultimately needed to be made out of steel. So we do have a sort of temporary metal refinery set up over here, grabbing the polluted water to make some steel. We've taken that polluted water and just dumped it into this liquid reservoir right here, which is very hot and will ultimately need to be cooled down. And we also did a little bit of metal refining down here to get the iron for the steel. This could just use normal water, but we needed the polluted water up here because the polluted water has a higher boiling point, and therefore we could add more heat to it without it rupturing in our pipes. So we set up a little temporary metal refinery setup right here. We're also working on our little temporary plastics facility up here. We've got sort of the power system up and running. We've got a lot of oxygen in this area. So this area is all nice and oxygenated. This area is all nice and oxygenated. Basically the work that we've done with these oxygen diffusers, plus with the polluted dirt in these storage bins, has gone a long way in making this area nice and workable. And we're in the process of setting up some polymer presses and some oil refineries. We're just going to pump out just enough oil here to run these presses for about a cycle to get 200 grams or 200 kilograms of plastic, which will be then necessary to set up our steam turbine. And we're going to set up the steam turbine here. That way, when eventually this water heats up to around 200 degrees Celsius, we're actually going to be generating power from the system as well as keeping this system cool cool and keeping our coolant system running. So those are some of the big things. New cooling loop in the base, which is going to make a lot of these ice makers unnecessary. We're going to start replacing these with more coal generators for more power, start replacing them with more ethanol distillers. Basically, this cooling system is going to start fading away as we rely more and more on this thermal Aquatuner system that we've built. We have done some temporary metal refining, but we're going to need a more permanent solution for how we set up our metal refining, because this is just going to dump a lot of heat into our base, and we don't really want to spend that cooling that we've just generated cooling down the system that we use to build the cooling system. That's kind of too much of a treadmill for us. So we're going to have to set up a new operation eventually. We've got our second O2 line up, we're getting our plastics operation up, and we're kind of dealing to some extent with the heat problems that are coming at us from the top and bottom of our base. We have extended out our little heat shield up here to try and hold back some of this leaky volcano heat from reaching into our base. We're gonna have to extend it out further and probably just have a wall all the way down here and then across here. And then down below, where we are currently sourcing our water, we are beginning to have some issues. The heat leak over here has expanded and created these sort of these steam explosions, which have ruptured some of these little pockets and are expanding to other pockets. So we have this problem of heat moving up slowly through our base, which we're going to have to deal with. And we also, because we have been running this saltwater geyser, allowed us the saltwater geyser to run and mix with this water down here, our water that we are pumping in to make our oxygen is getting dangerously hot. This liquid pump breaks at 75 degrees. So we're going to need to figure out something to do to keep this area cool, that way we can keep getting water, or source a new form of water, which is probably going to come from this saltwater geyser right here. We're going to set up some thermal aquatuners, filter out just by heating it up, this salt water into regular water, which is going to be steam passed through a steam turbine, and that steam turbine is going to feed that water off to our electrolyzers. That's going to be kind of the more longer term solution. We also want to start up Dreco ranching at some point, so that way we can work in these areas without having scalds. But eventually this system is going to break, and we're going to need a new water system to replace it. And eventually we're just going to need to deal with the massive heat problems that are all around our base coming slowly towards us. But inside the base, at least, we have our cooling solution up and running, our sort of industrial cooling solution, and that's major progress for us. So +9 dupes, cooling loop, temporary metal refining, major farm expansions, a second O2 line, plastics operations starting to get built up, expanded our heat shield, and keeping an eye on the problems down below. That's it for this episode, and I will catch you guys next time.